So yeah, so I'm going to explain a bit the internals and how it's implemented, especially since the last few weeks. Now all the classes, so MISP event, MISP attributes, the objects, references, and so on, all of them are represented as mutables. So you can use all those classes are basically dictionaries, and you can access all the information out of it from dictionaries. And I will create more classes so you can more easily play with it. So at first, I'm going to just show you those ones. So that's the master class for now. All the MISP the MISP classes representing objects in MISP. On objects, when I talk about objects here, I'm not talking about the new what Alex was talking about with the MISP objects. I'm talking about everything, including events and attributes. All of them, so as I said, are dictionaries. They are all you can all export them into JSON. And the way it's implemented is all the classes, all the attributes in the classes, if they're not starting with an underscore, they will be exported in the dictionary, so you can just access them by key, which is going to make your life way easier when you want to play with it. So yeah, and you can obviously like write your own class, your own method for the JSON export. It will be important for some specific use cases when you don't necessarily want to export everything, or when you want to create a new attribute and so on. So here, so as I said, a MISP attribute is inheriting from abstract MISP, which is a mutable class, and so everything that is not exported in the JSON blob will be accompanied with underscore, and everything else will be set as an attribute and exported by default. And it's the same for MISP events and for for the object reference and for the object attributes. So the thing is, all those classes can import an object, can import a JSON blob, and set it as a proper Python class, which is going to make your life way easier when you want to extract stuff out of a JSON object instead of just like going through a dictionary manually. Yeah. So and here you have the MISP object, which is what Alex was talking about earlier. And that MISP object is like a file based on the template file, or based on the template regex, or based on the template PE section and so on. And all those ones, so they rely on a template definition that is in external repository, and bundled in PyMISP. So you don't need to care everything. When you install PyMISP, you have all the object templates directly imported and usable. And if you create your own object template, again, it will be a JSON file. You can just install it with your PyMISP instance. So yeah, all those classes are. The goal is really to make it easy for you to load a JSON blob and export a JSON blob without having to care about anything. So that's the idea, that's the internal of how it's implemented. And of course, all those functions have a bunch of helpers, like add attributes, add tags, and so on. So you can basically play with your JSON, your MISP object, add attributes, remove attributes, add tags, and then push it back as a JSON blob to MISP without thinking too much. And the way the objects are, when you want to create your new object, you start from a PE file, for example. So you have your PE file. This PE file is at first a file. So you extract, you compute all the hashes, and you want to add them as a file object into MISP. And to do that, it's already in the core library. It's going to be here and file object. So what you will do is getting the value you want to add in the object. You use the add attribute method, which is going to basically just create a new class attribute in your current class, and you can just then dump it out as JSON without anything weird, anything else to do. So as you can see, creating a file object, a bunch of tests here, but it's going to be really small. On this one, if you just write something like that, and you have your template prepared already, as a JSON object, you will just load it, add all your attributes, dump it to JSON, and nothing else to do. So it's going to be really straightforward. At this point, we only have libraries for file objects and ELF, PE, and Mako, because ELF, Mako, and PE are supported by Leaf, which is a Python library developed by Quarks Labs. And so it's really, really straightforward, and you can just use it out of the box. So I'm going to show you an example with a PE object. That's probably going to be the one I will use the most. So again, I have a bunch of helpers here. I generate all my attributes. And here, a PE has sections, and we also have a section object template in this. So you get your file, extract all the indicators out of the files, go to the PE object generator, extract all the indicators out of the PE. So indicators will be all the description fields in the metadata of the PE. So it's going to be a compilation timestamp, and product name, and file name, original file name, and so on. All those ones, you export them, push them into your new class. Then you get through each section and extract all the indicators out of those sections. And again, you have here the PE section object thing. So again, as you can see, it's really straightforward. You can create and you can automate the extraction of the indicators out of whichever file you want really easy. So that's the idea for the object and the way it's implemented in MISP. Do you have questions on that part already? If you want to play with it later and talk about it with me in the next few days, feel free to do so. Anything yet on that part? Okay. So the other thing that Alex was talking about earlier is mouse here. JSON is nice and so, but it's still really painful to do stuff with it and to just integrate it if you don't have some helpers to do so. PyMISP galaxies and then PyTaxonomies, basically they load the JSON blob and represent it again as Python dictionary. So you can just go through it using key values and implement it and use it in your own systems. PyMISP galaxies and PyTaxonomies are completely standalone. You don't have any dependency on PyMISP core, and you can just use them and play the taxonomies as you want in your own systems. Which will make sense if you use MISP as like a hub to put all your indicators in and move them around. Having a way to understand, to manage taxonomies and the tags from the MISP events into third-party software will be really handy. So that's something that is definitely recommended. And please have a look at it. And all PyMISP galaxies also come bundled in with all the galaxies. So you can just you have all the content, all the data is here when you install. If you do pip install PyMISP galaxies, so it's going to make your life a lot easier to just use it instead of going through the JSON objects directly. Something important to know is that all those JSON documents have schemas, so we also make sure that it doesn't fail every time we do an update, or when you want to do a pull request to add new fields and so on, it will make sure that you are not pushing something that is going to be misinterpreted by MISP. Yeah, really recommend it. JSON schema are great. Yeah. And by taxonomies, again, same idea. So I have a bunch of examples here. The idea is that you can just load the taxonomies. Again, everything is bundled in the module. You can just load the taxonomies, play with it. You can also edit it if you want, because it can dump back the taxonomies to JSON. So if you want to do some changes with using the taxonomy, using the PyMISP taxonomies, you can do that without editing the JSON file manually. And what will be dumped out will also be validated with the schema. So you can do it relatively easily without using your text editor if you have some specific changes you want to do. Yeah, and again, completely standalone. PyTaxonomies has a website. You can also use it to see the taxonomies if you don't want to go to do it manually. At some point, as we have schemas for all those, so for the galaxies and for taxonomies, we want to have an easy editor, so you can just go on a web page and change fields and add fields to the galaxies and to the taxonomies without having to edit the text files. But that's going to be, that will happen in the future. Yeah, any questions on that part? I'm going to just show you then the objects a bit. Mouse again. JSON objects. Yeah, we can. Just if you didn't already look at it, I'm just going to show it to you really fast. Yeah, so that's how an object is represented. So you will just load this one. So it's a template. It has some predefined fields, and all those fields. So, for example, if you go, yeah, all those fields will be passed directly to MISP, and MISP will interpret them and so on. And they are all mostly self-explanatory. If you have any questions about that, when you create a new object, also just come talk to us. We're always happy to answer to that. And I can show you. So I'm going to show you when you add a new object into MISP, so a new file object into MISP, it will use the same array I showed you earlier to extract all the indicators out of the file and create an object. So I'm going to create a new event, and obviously it's going to fail. I mean, I'm doing a live demo, so it will definitely just fail. But anyway, let's give it a try still. So I have a new event, and I am going to add an attachment. This attachment is going to be, for ideas, it's going to be a malware sample. Delivery. Oops. And this one, if you tick, it's not going to work. This one, okay, so I should do this page then. But no, it should be on your machine. Yes, it should be in this page now. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to try then to do it from my own machine. Okay, it's not never from this one. Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. So, let's. Okay, and now object. So in all those examples are parsed, so you can just do it this way, and it's going to give you some information on how the example is working. So on this one is 4413. So and oops, let's do test times. Let's going to use cmd.exe, and yeah, it's better if you put the parts. So it's uploading it on MISP beta. This one will get the CMD, so get used as a file, extract all the indicator of the file, figure out it's a PE, extract all the indicator out of the PE, and generate also all the PE sections information. So now I will reload the page, and here you have it even worked. So you have the PE section here. Reference by will show you the reference of the PE, which is on the same page here. Oops. Yeah, this one here. So as you can see, PE you have like all the parameters, all the metadata directly extracted out of the file, and you can decide to tick to have some correlation. So already uploaded the same file in another event yesterday because I gave a try. And yeah, so you can find out here the same file and some correlations on the file name. For the file, so you have all the hashes, the type, MIME type, and you will have somewhere the file itself. Yeah, so file. It's a malware sample, so you can also run the malware sample. I mean, as you always do with malware. So yeah, as you can see, that's how it's going to work when you want to play with objects. It's relatively easy to write your own modules, so you're just welcome to contribute depending on which one you want to play with. But yeah, those ones are already implemented, and you have them directly in MISP when you install your own instance and you install Leaf. Again, installing Leaf, Leaf is ongoing progress. At this point, if you want to do that, you need to install the beta version. It's going to you need to install the trunk out of GitHub. But that's going to be fixed soon, and they will just release all 8 in a few days. So it's going to be way easier to play with. It's tested on Ubuntu. If you use CentOS, good luck. There is no support in here. Installing Leaf, just you do you. Yeah. So, do you have any questions about that? Yeah.
Any problems with synchronizing those objects with instances which doesn't have MISP objects?
So the ways they're represented internally are the same as the old format attributes. Okay. In the database, you just have an extra field. So when it's shared, you will still receive all the indicators, but they will just be seen as one single block, the same way you had all the attributes before. So it will suck a bit for the people who didn't update, but the idea is to make people update. But you will not lose any information even if you don't update. Yeah.
If they update, they will have the reference in the database, or they lose it by import because they don't have the additional
yeah. So just to reply to that. So basically, the way it works is when you first synchronize before you update, you will get the data without the object. So anything that is contained in the object you don't get until you update, and then you get them. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that means the older version will not get the one that has the object.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
so we don't because the reason is each of the attributes internally, the way we store them, the only difference compared to the old style attributes is that each one of these attributes now has an object ID that it links to, which can be 0 if it's not linked to an object, and the relationship. So if you look there, for example, where SHA-1 is repeated twice, because here the relationship type is the same as the type, but that would be the other new field, the relationship to the object itself. So for example, I think we have, for example, a text attribute down there that is describing a MIME type, so that the MIME type would be the relationship. So these 2 points of data are the only new things. We don't synchronize them with old versions that don't have those fields yet, so we skip the objects. And when they upgrade, they can start getting data with objects in there.
So biggest risk, if you run a very old version of MISP, you might end up with an event with no attribute attached.
With no objects, yeah, exactly.
Object, because it's just objects.
But you still get everything else. I mean, that was one of the big decisions we had to make in the end. How do we deal with them? And in the end, our decision was to get as much data as you can without some things you can store it. And by the way, we also do this for new attribute types. So if you're staying on a very old MISP, you might miss out on some attributes that are using new types that you do not have, that you cannot ingest yet. So yeah, for that reason alone, we really suggest that people keep up to date. Generally, when a new type is out, you won't have a lot of data with that type for a few months at least before people start using it. So there's always a grace period, an inherent grace period for updating.
Any further questions? Yeah.
What kind of users, or on which level will be the ability to create those MISP object templates?
I mean, it's relatively simple. Like the way I'm going to show them to you here.
And keep in mind, this is something that will be built into the UI.
Yeah.
So once it's in the UI, it's as simple as creating an attribute or anything like that. So if you're familiar with the object, not the object, but with the templates of this, the UI will be similar to that. I'm not sure if many people use it. I always try to bring it up in the Sun Labs, but because nobody's using it. But we have a templating system for workflows and for creating events. And the idea is to use a similar UI. Just so drag and drop and do it.
But if you can show just quickly.
I mean, that's one of them here. So
okay,
this one,
so just extending these.
Yeah, like
for now, yes, the system is there. Then after that, like this.
Yeah, no. So it will be because like one of the ways there is already a PHP thing. There's a tool. Yeah, I think it's this one.
So it's one per, like all instances, right?
Yeah, so the objects are like the directory containing these definitions in a MISP instance. Yeah.
So should it be somehow approved? Because
so you might have 2 things. So it's basically you can have objects that are the default ones. Those ones are in the repository. Between brackets, they are approved. So it's basically those one contains things that a lot of people are using. If you have a very specific to your business object that you don't want to share, you can create a JSON locally. That's most.
Oh.
So you can even, in the case that you don't know, you want to have one for aircraft, for example, and then no one you share it to anyone, so you can basically create it locally. Then in the object, we basically approve the one that are commonly used. I think I never refuse one until now, or we just usually refine it or improve it, but usually it's how it works. And those templates are versions. So if you modify one, you basically get the new updates for the definition of the schema, and then you can edit with that template the object.
Basically, the big question always is, when you create a template, is it something that you want to share with the community so others can use it as well? If not, you can completely keep it local to yourself, and then do whatever. One of the big challenges was, of course, to have a system for the objects themselves to be shareable without the other partners having the template. And in the end, some of the metadata is contained within the object itself, so you never have to worry about sharing templates unless you really want to let the other party also share data using the same template.
So, but what technically may happen if I will have my own old template with some additional object types, and I'll have like synchronization with other instances which doesn't have this?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. They will get your object. The only thing they cannot do is they cannot edit it because they don't have your template.
Okay.
So basically, there's a UUID and a version check. If they don't have the template, they can do some minor editing in proposals, such as changing distribution level, IDS flag, but they cannot, for example, add additional attributes to the object. But that's about it.
Okay.
So yeah.